Okay, so this is a demo just to start out for people who are or haven't gathered their data yet for their CPT. Hopefully, maybe you've been putting that off or something like that. We don't quite know what's happening with this. We want to get going on and have some of these videos to help you out with it. So first suggestion is open up Google, go to Yahoo Finance, search for Yahoo Finance, and then click on Yahoo Finance. And then what you want to do is you want to go to, you can look at whatever you want to look at on here, but you really want to go to quote lookup. Okay, you want to look up whatever company it is that either you're interested in or that you've decided on for your stock quote. I'm going to pick the Royal Bank of Canada. Okay, and press enter. And sometimes it'll pop straight to it, sometimes it won't, depending on the situation. And here I've already searched it up, so it has it in a memory here, but you want to pick the Royal Bank of Canada. I want to pick the one in Toronto. That's this one right here. Just because it's the Toronto Stock Exchange, why not pick the one in Toronto? But you can pick whatever data you want to. Generally, US or Canadian dollars, again, is the approach you want to take. And so you should get to a window like this, which is sort of like a little stock portfolio. It gives the price of the stock over time, but you don't want to gather the data from here. This is actually over yesterday's trading. And you can see over 1 day or 5 days or 1 month or even the 5 years, which is what we're interested in. And you'll see, of course, this big dip right here. You know what that is. That's what we're experiencing from late February or mid-February all the way to now, which of course is the COVID pandemic, and of course indicative of that our stock price is dropping quite low. But still, over a 5-year average is still not actually too bad. Anyway, dollar values have also increased. But anyway, we won't get into the economics of all of it. What you do want to do, or one of the best places to look up, you can look up statistics and stuff like that if you want to, but historical data. That's what's going to give you a nice table that will have all of your data in it, okay? So if you go to historical data, it's going to give you a table that looks like this, which is beautiful because it's all the stock prices for 1 year. Now, we want it for 5 years. Okay, that's your requirement. Okay, up to 5 years. So what you want to do is, if you look here for time period, it goes April 22nd, 2019 to April 22nd, 2020. Okay, that's 1 year. We want it to be 5 years. So all you do is you go here and you adjust it to all these options here. Of course, the 5W is the 5 years. And you'll see that it adjusts the time frame here, but it doesn't give the data in this chart. What you have to do is make sure you go to apply and apply that. Okay, now what's going to happen, you're going to notice quite quickly, is as you scroll down to look for the bottom of it to make sure it actually went to the right date, it's going to keep on jumping up on you a fair bit. And that's just because it's still downloading all the information. Right now it's June 2019, right? So it's still got a lot more information to download. So just be patient. Maybe go have a cup of coffee or something and then come back and then continue scrolling, because we do want to make sure all the information's on there so we can copy and paste the chart in Microsoft Excel where we're going to be doing all of our work. Then I'm going to show you how to format that chart to get it ready to do all of your data analysis. Okay, so there we are, we're almost there. Okay, so we're at July 2015. We're almost April 21st, 2015. Now, I'll talk to you a bit about this dividend afterwards. But what you want to do is you want to go all the way down to this April 22nd, 2015. There's an also benefit of scrolling all the way down, which is we're going to copy and paste this entire chart. So you just want to left click, okay, or control click if you have a Mac. Left click and then just scroll upwards. And it's going to take you a little while. Here you can't go get a coffee, but hopefully you already have a coffee in your hand and you can wait a little bit. And it's just going to highlight all that data. Maybe there's a fancier way to do it, but I'm not much of a fancy computer person, so I'll probably get it wrong. And you want to go all the way up to these headings that say date, open, high, low, close, adjusted close, and then volume. And all you're going to do is you're going to hop over to Microsoft Excel. I've already got Microsoft Excel open here. Okay, and you're just going to go up to edit and just paste it in. And if you copy a table on anything, even like a NBA site for your favorite team or whatever the heck it is you like, it'll paste the whole darn thing in there. Okay, now some of these things look, oh, what did I do? I made a mistake. No, you didn't. You can go to each of these cells, like go to A, for example, and I guess I could make this bigger. Now, because most of the work's going to happen in nice and close. But I could go to A and I could do a bunch of things, but one thing I can do is if I go between A and B, you can see, of course, that it lets you adjust the size of that. I'm sure you're used to that. So you can actually see the date, the full date. Okay, and another thing that looks really weird is you get all these number signs. Okay, not hashtags. That just means that the number's too big for you to see based on the size of the window that you have. So you just got to make the window a little bit bigger. But whatever, you do whatever you want to do with it. Play around with it a little bit. Okay, now of this sort of table that we have here, let me make it a little smaller. We're only going to need really stock prices. Okay, and what we have here, for those of you guys who understand trading, is what the stock opens at in this group. Okay, what the stock, the highest value in the day, the lowest value in the day, the closing price, and the adjusted closing. And I actually don't know the difference between a close and an adjusted close. So you can pick whichever one of those you want. You can even pick the open, but usually the price that most people sort of look historically on is the close or the adjusted close. Volume is just how many shares traded that day. That's all, okay, of this particular class. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and do a few things. First thing what we're going to do is we're going to erase some columns we don't need, okay? So I don't want open, I don't want high, I don't want low, okay? I either want close or adjusted close. You decide, I don't care which one you use. I guess for brevity, we probably should just pick close. Or no, actually no, adjusted close, because maybe they adjusted it to something important, okay? So I'm going to go to open, and I don't want that anymore, so I'm going to delete that. There's a couple of ways you can do it, but I'm just going to go up to edit, and I'm just going to delete. Boom, and it disappears. Now you notice the open column is gone, and now it's high, low, close. A B has been adjusted to now B is now something different, and we're just going to continue to delete, okay? All the columns that we don't want. Remember, you want to click right on the letter to get the whole column, rather than having to go all the way down and highlight it all. It'll be a pain in the, you know what. Okay, so edit, delete, and then we're going to, I guess we're going to use adjusted close. So edit, delete, and then volume, don't need volume. Although, you know, interesting, I'm sure. But I'm not a finance person, so I don't know. I'm sure that's indicative of share prices, but again, it's indicative of demand and how popular. I'm sure there's lots of things going on there. Anyway, so here we are. We've got date and adjusted close. Now, if you were to graph a two-variable graph, which you will be doing and learning how to do in the next week or two, probably, or maybe 3 weeks, definitely you'll be done it, we'll be doing a two-variable graph. But the two-variable graph that we do, if you go to graph this date, it's going to treat it like it's a label, and it's not going to work out properly. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to actually have the day, and then from there have it progress. But of course, if you want to go from left to right, generally when we go from left to right in a graph on the horizontal axis, you want to have the lowest value, like the 0 or the 1, being the oldest day, because time generally tends to move from left to right. We read from left to right, so you want to read it from left to right. So that's the situation we have to create. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an arbitrary stat. First thing I have to do is I have to insert like a column, okay? And that's a bit of an issue here. All right, so you can go to insert. Sometimes there's, on the menus here, there's a little bit more. Yeah, there it is. I just got to make this a little bit bigger to see the menus, some of the different menus. And I can go over to insert. Can you still see that on the screen? Yes, you can. Okay, and you go to insert, and then you insert an entire column. Okay, and so you can see hopefully over here to the left. Let me bring that back into size here again. Over to the left, you'll see that a column's been created to the left. Play around with that. It's not too difficult to do. I'm just going to go day. I'm going to call that day. Okay, kind of like a trading day. Okay, and that's an arbitrary statistic that we're creating there. Now, this day here, April 21st, 2020, is the most recent. So it should be the biggest number. So it's going to be graphed all the way to the right, right at the very end of my graph. What I want to do is I want to make the very bottom number all the way down here. Oops, there it is. April 22nd, 2015. I want to make that day number 1. Okay, now how do I make that day number 1? Well, I can make that 1, and then 2, and then 3. Oops, sorry. And then I've already made a mistake. 3, 4, and so on. But that's not going to work, because then I have to do that. And if you notice all the way down to this cell number here, okay, you see 1,276. Not ideal. Not ideal at all. Okay, because that means I have to count all the way up to that number. So I'm going to use Excel to my advantage. Now there's a couple of problems here that I want to sort of point out that some of your stocks, depending on which ones they are, may have. And there may be columns where they have dividends that they give out. Every quarter, you're going to see a hole here, see? You see a hole here. Or there may actually be something called dividend in there. So you may have to go through your table and clean it out. This is where the dividends were given out, either to the preferred or common shareholders of this particular stock, okay, as sort of a payment for like, hey, it did really well, we have a bit extra dough, we want to give you guys some money as a payout and a thank you for giving us the money, investing in our company, etc., etc. So go through and make sure you delete all of those so you can get an actual correct number. So I'm going to use the correct number here as 1,276. It's not exactly correct. You go and remove all those dividend days, which aren't really trading days, so they're not viable actual statistical values, and then you go from there, okay? In essence, what we should be doing is getting somewhere around 1,258, give or take, okay? There should be 253 trading days in a year, 252, depending on whether it's a leap year and stuff like that. So the number should be a little bit lower. So it's a 1276 because I've got all those dividends in there. So make sure you go through and you get rid of all those. It's easiest to get rid of all those by deleting that whole row. It's easiest to do that when you have the full chart there, because then you can see it because it stretches all the way across and it's pretty easy to see. A little bit annoying, but you know, that is what it is. Okay, so we want this to be number one. So what we do is we go all the way up to the top and we go 1276, because we know this is going to be 1276 because there's 1,276 entries. Now, this one, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go equals, create a formula, and I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to go -1. And the beautiful thing is, of course, it goes from 1276 to 1275, which is what I want. But then it also goes, and if I, again, fat plus to skinny plus, I'm repeating this formula all the way down. If I repeat it all the way down for my entire data set, again, have another sip of coffee, relax, think about life, etc., etc., etc. Oh, we're almost there. And then I go, boop. Oops, I must have missed a... Oh, wait, 12... Silly. It's not 1276, there's 1275. Because, of course, cell number 1 is my label. Mr. Henley. Not very smart. So 1275, I just adjust it, boop, and then it fixes it, and then it's going to go all the way down to 1, which is what I want. Okay? Once you have that data table set up, and I can make it a little smaller so you can still see the numbers and see that they go from 1 all the way up to the last day, 1275. So you have to do a few things. You've got to go to Yahoo Finance. You've got to copy and paste that. Okay, you've got to go to historical data. You've got to go and make sure you apply that 5-year span. You've got to highlight that table. You've got to copy and paste it in Microsoft Excel. And then you've got to delete those columns you don't want. Don't forget, if you do have dividends, make sure you go ahead and delete those dividends. I'll show you what they look like. I have another sheet here with the raw data. And you can see, right here, see? So there's a section. I'll make it a little bigger so you can read it. But you'll see that it's sort of like a little break. You got stock prices all the way along, all the way along, all the way along, and all of a sudden, boom, you've got this thing called dividend. Okay, on January 24th, 2020. So you want to take that particular row there, and you just want to delete that row. Okay, so go to edit, and then you can delete that row. Boop, it disappears, and then you have no break in your stock price. It's just stock price, all the way down, okay, which is what you want. So you go down to your next dividend. This is a little annoying, okay, because it'll take you a little bit of time. And you go to edit, and then delete it, and then go from there. Okay, I'm going to save this file, this Excel file that I've created. Please note that sheet 1 is sort of like the after, and sheet 2 is like the before. Now again, this is for Robank, so it depends on what your share is like. Okay, but remember, you need to have it going back trading for 5 years. So you have to use either a version of the stock or a new company if it doesn't go back 5 years. And ideally, it's going to be traded in Canadian or US dollars. We've had some people request some other numbers and stuff. That's cool if you want to, but if it's other currencies, they can sometimes get a little bit unusual in size based on the value of their dollar and what things trade for. So keep that in mind as you're going along. So I'll save this file. Don't know what I'm going to save it as yet, but it'll be in this little blurb. It's going to be in your CPT section of your Google Classroom. Okay, and it's just going to be database setup or stock price setup or something, and I'll call it something like that. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.